On today's show, we have the Tower of Power from American Gladiators. Please welcome Tower.
Hey, Mike. Steve Henneberry, Tower from the American Gladiators. Hey, all you Gladiator fans out there. Glad to be here, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Mike Grant Show. And today's special guest is from the American Gladiators. Please welcome Tower. Hey Tower, how are you?
I'm great, Mike. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to have a great time, everybody. We're going to go back down memory lane, talk about American Gladiators, see what Tower has been up to since then. But right now, I want to know a little bit about yourself. So you grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, correct?
That's correct. The suburbs of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but I always say Milwaukee because if I told you the town I was from, no one would ever know where it is.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit how it was like growing up there? And you played some sports in high school and college as well, correct?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, growing up in, on a farm in Wisconsin, we worked hard, and my dreams was to be a professional football player, just like every other young boy. And but growing up in a small town in Wisconsin, we didn't have the training facilities the way the kids do today, and so. My love of bodybuilding and in building my body came through my own aspirations of reading magazines. We didn't have Google back then, so I remember just buying magazines and reading about how to make your chest bigger, grow your legs, and that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what launched my athletic career. Actually, is through high school. Is I wanted to be bigger, faster, and stronger.
Yes, and you were one of the biggest sized American Gladiators as well on the show. How did you get, into like you made a goal for yourself, correct? As far as you wanted to be Mr. America within 10 years, correct? How did you set up achieving that goal?
Well, I just remember, Mike, in 1979, I bought a Muscle Fitness magazine, and Gary Leonard was on the cover of that magazine, and he was a Mr. America. And all I remember thinking to myself is, God, what would it be like to be Mr. America? And it just, I was about that big around, I could stand behind a telephone pole, but, just something inside me said, okay, you can do this, and just commit to it. So I gave myself 10 years, Mike, to be able to, have the opportunity to compete in the Mr. America contest. And in 1989, I was the tall man, Mr. America.
And then you also set out, so to do that, you set out to move across the country, correct? To California?
I didn't set out, I kind of fell into it. I was in the beginning of my goal, I was training in Wisconsin, and I had won some local contests back in Wisconsin, and just kind of making my steps to the Mr. America Ultimate show, and was out here in California, and had an opportunity to move to California. And again, this is the mecca of bodybuilding. It's like I was like a kid in a candy shop, just looking around and seeing the equipment variations, the knowledge. And so it was just what an opportunity I had, and I jumped at it. So I packed up a U-Haul and my 1983 Trans Am, and went across country.
And when you first came to California, what were some of the differences you noticed as opposed to living in Wisconsin?
Well, they didn't hunt out here. Again, I was brought up a country boy. We hunted, we fished, and we did it all. We camped, and that was a little less acceptable out here. But it was okay because I was so embellished in my in my goal and my dream. And so, I mean, I, was working towards my goal every day. I canceled dates, because I had to train, or I had to get up, or I had to rest. People don't realize, and that's our biggest problem in society today, Mike, is nobody knows how to accomplish anything, because number one, they don't ever commit to something, and then they don't stay consistent. And I use the word commitment and consistent in all aspects of my life. My marriage, if I'm not committed and I'm not consistent, my marriage ain't gonna work. Raising kids, if you don't stay consistent, guess what? So if you think about that commitment and consistency in life, it's more than just Steve Henneberry working out for and training for the Mr. America. It's a way of life.
And when you were out there as well, eventually you opened a gym, correct? Or you ran a gym?
Well, yeah, I worked, I had the opportunity to invest some money into a Gold's Gym in San Diego. So I had the opportunity to work at the gym, be at the gym, train. So it was a no-brainer for me, and so it was, it was a great opportunity.
And then eventually you also got a job at Universal Studios playing Conan, correct?
Yeah, before Conan, I got hired on at SeaWorld. I was the king of Muscle Beach. And actually, the producers of Conan were at SeaWorld. They saw me and they approached me. And then they invited me to come up and audition for the role of Conan at Universal at the live tour.
Now, is that where you got discovered for American Gladiators, since it was on Universal Studios?
No.
Or did that come about differently?
That came about differently, Mike. I was actually on a photo shoot for Muscle Fitness magazine. And the photographer said to me, hey, you're in great shape right now. They're holding auditions for this new show that's coming out. And I remember he hands me a VHS tape, a VHS, Mike. And so I was living in San Diego. We were shooting up here in Woodland Hills at the Muscle Fitness old headquarters. And I remember going home, and I got home late. It was the very next day they were holding auditions. So that meant I had to jump back in a car and drive up to LA. I remember getting home late. I was tired, and I popped that VHS in, and I go, this is a dumb show. Why would I want to do this? That was my first interpret of the pilot. And but something inside of me said, Steve, get in the car, get your ass up to Universal Studios and audition. And so lo and behold, I got in the car, and I remember, getting there, and there was a line all the way around the block. I think every bodybuilder in the West Coast was showing up for this audition. I wasn't the only one that was auditioning. And I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go. It's going to be a hurry up and wait thing all day long. And, but I stuck it out. I stuck it out and made it through the first preliminary, test. You had to do pull-ups, and you had to run a 4-yard dash. You had to do like a shuttle drill back and forth. So made it through those. And because I always consider myself a pretty good athlete, at the time I was 305 pounds at 6'4". So I moved pretty good for the size. And so I just remember, sitting, meeting with the producers, because I went to the next phase. So I'm standing, and they had this whole table of producers. And the first question they asked me is, why do you think we should choose you? And it's not that I was being cocky or anything, Mike, but I just said, look around here. And they're like, what do you mean? I says, look around. What do you see? And I mean, there's, bodybuilders all over, big guys, big girls all over. He goes, we don't understand your question. I said, they're all short. They're all small. I says, I'm the biggest guy here. I says, and I want to be the tower of power. They looked at me and they go, okay, you can go over here. So, again, it's not that I was being cocky, I just visualized something different for the show.
Yep. So that's awesome. So basically you made your own name then, Tower.
I did. Yeah, I brought the name Tower. And matter of fact, Laser and I both, we trademarked our names down the road after we were working together for a while, because we just knew that we were onto something. It's interesting, Mike, because just prior to Arnold, was kind of my mentor throughout the years. And before, the show getting super, super popular, my very first day on the set, or, for being called for the show, they were filming Kindergarten Cop on the studio right next to us. And I don't know if you remember that show with that movie with Arnold, but I just remember them knocking on my trailer door, on my dressing room door, and they said, Tower, we need you on set. So it's like my first day, I'm eager beaver, and never been on really an active set before. And so I go running out to go do my, my call, and I run right into Arnold. And he looks at me, and he goes, you're that guy that's on the magazine right now, that big guy. Well, coincidentally, my muscular development cover just happened to hit the shelves. And Arnold, I'm on the cover. Now, Arnold's down in the corner marketing his Total Recall movie. And he goes, you look good. He goes, come to my trailer. He goes, come to my dressing room. He goes, we need to talk. And so I looked at him, I look at the set, and I mean, who the hell do you choose? I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger's invite me to his place. And I said, Arnold, they want me on set. He goes, oh, go, come back when you're done. So, so the whole time I'm out there, I'm trying to, perform and do my job. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, Arnold wants to see me. Arnold wants to see me. I'm going to go see Arnold after this. I don't know what I was more excited about, so I remember going over there, knocking on his door, and he invites me in and asks me if I want a cigar. And I said, no, I'm working, no, thank you. And he just says to me, he said, he goes, bodybuilding. He goes, no money in bodybuilding. And I look at him, and he goes, become a household name. That's where the money is. And I really didn't understand, Mike, what he was talking about. But, 2 years later, the show's the #1 syndicated show in America, or, pretty much across the world. And that words of encouragement that he gave me, become a household name, made bling sense to me, and that, I gotta say, is just, it never has left my mind what he told me that day. And he took the time, and we were talking about short little guys versus big guys like us. And he goes, oh, when we put our arms out there, our arms are like this. He goes, bam, and they're big. And he goes, those short little stubby guys, they got stubby little arms. So a total prankster. Had the opportunity, after that, to really kind of travel a lot with him for some Planet Hollywood grand openings across the country, Hawaii, Orlando, San Diego. We did a bunch of stuff together. We had a lot of fun doing it. So, and believe it, I mean, he was always just a total prankster, and took me in like I was one of his long lost friends.
That's awesome. I mean, that must have been a great moment. I mean, you see Arnold Schwarzenegger, of all people, one of your idols, sitting there and giving you that advice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I couldn't have written a script better than that. How I got into the business type thing. I mean, because here's the thing: I didn't come to California to be an actor. I honestly didn't. I came out here because I wanted to be a bodybuilder. And then I remember leaving. My folks even said, my dad tells me, he goes, you'll be back. He goes, you'll never make a living at what you're doing. And so that also kind of pushed me too, is that I wasn't, damn him for not believing in me, and damn him again for telling me that I couldn't do something, and you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it 10 times better.
And now when you got cast on the show, originally, were you an alternate gladiator, like one of the gladiators Yes. waiting in the wings, correct?
Correct. And, Mike, and that was a hard position to be in. Of course, I wanted to get out there and do what I wanted to do. But in order for me to do that, someone had to go down and get hurt. So, they wanted you on set, but it's like you were on set. Some of the other gladiators felt that, Tower's over there just waiting for me to go down. So it was kind of a rock between a rock and a hard spot position, and it was tough. But something. Listen, I guess every top athlete, starts somewhere, or they're a backup somewhere. Aaron Rodgers, was a backup to Brett Favre for how long, or Tom Brady was a backup to Drew Bledsoe. So every top athlete has moment where they get that opportunity.
Yep. And so basically Turbo got injured and then you
Correct.
stepped in, correct? And
Correct.
then
Turbo had a nasty, and it's like, I mean, it was a bad knee injury. You know, I just felt so bad for him, you know, that the pain he was in, and just, it was a horrific knee injury.
and then when you got cast, you replaced him, but then he came back. So what happened? So then they decided to keep you as well on the set, is what they did?
Yes. Yeah. There was a couple seasons there where I don't think Gemini or Nitro came back. They held out for something, and they didn't bring them back for a couple seasons. And so it was, you know, it was a kind of a, we all were friends. You know, I wasn't in competition with Turbo, or I wasn't in competition with Laser or Nitro. You know, listen, we both had a job to do, and we were all competitive athletes. We hated to lose. I mean, you talk to Laser, you know, I'm sure he told you, I mean, Laser was probably one of the toughest that I've ever, you know, had the pleasure of working with. And, you know, he's just a headbanger, and he takes it really serious.
Yeah. And everybody's, you know, everybody's competitive with one another, obviously. However, you're all kind of rooting for each other to do well. You know, you're all different people, which just
Right.
like a lot of people don't understand too. Just like when you go out for an acting job, let's say, even though you're in competition with somebody, you're really not, in a way, because you're all different, you know? So you're going out there
Correct.
and you're just being yourself, basically.
Yeah. You know, listen, I didn't have to, I played who I am. I didn't have to become a character. You know, I was the good old boy, you know, the gentle giant, you know, but, you know, you push my buttons, you know, I'm going to kick your ass, you know, and, but yeah, I didn't have to play a character, you know, and that's the thing, that when they tried doing a relaunch of the show, you know, that these guys came out howling and crawling on the ground and trying to become these characters, you know, and, you know, every one of us, whether it was Gemini, Nitro, Laser, Turbo, myself, Thunder, you know, Thunder had the blonde hair where he flung it. That's who Billy was. I mean, I knew Billy for years, but that was Billy. And Laser had that military straight, that flat haircut, and you know, he just had that look about him. We were ourselves. There wasn't any of us that played a character.
Now, speaking of the injury that Turbo had, eventually you did later on have an injury as well, with Saber. You guys collided, correct?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
was,
I received 44 stitches in my forehead here. It was just a freak accident, Mike. You know, we were playing Powerball, had a guy wrapped up, and Saber came over to high on the top, and we collided heads. And I mean, I had several injuries on the show. I mean, I had 14 major surgeries that were directly related to the American Gladiators. Broke my nose twice, tore my pec right off the bone. But those were things, because we were superheroes bigger than life, that the producers didn't want us to show. The audience couldn't see us, that we were hurt. And that was the hard part about because if we wanted to get paid, you know, we had to perform.
yep. I mean, you guys definitely were real life superheroes at the time. And
Yeah.
what I want to ask you about as well is about the hosts of the show. You had great announcers there, Mike Adamle and Larry Zonka. Can you tell us a little bit what it was like working with them?
You know, Zonka was is a legend. I mean, and that guy, you shake, he's got like me hooks for hands. I mean, I've got big hands, but he's got sausages for fingers, and he shakes your hand and, you know, and Mike Adamle was probably the most well-spoken, knowledgeable individual that I had the pleasure to work with. I mean, he could articulate and commentate, you know, just about anything, and it was believable and understandable. He didn't just, you hear some of these commentators when they're commentating, whether it's football, they're babbling, they're blabbing, they're not making any sense, they're killing time. Mike Adamle just had a unique tact about himself, where he made it very conversational and also informative.
Yep. And there were many different gladiators over the years. I'm just going to name some of them right now that worked with you. You had Nitro, Laser, Turbo, Saber, Hawk, Rebel, Gemini, Cyclone, so many of these. Can you tell me, and those were just the male gladiators, and of course you had so many female gladiators as well. Can you tell me what are some of your favorite memories of working with the other gladiators? And was there any gladiators in particular that you were best friends with?
Well, I mean, first of all, I was so blessed to have the opportunity to be Tower on the #1 show and have the opportunity to work with the Geminis, the Nitros, the Hawks, the Lasers and Turbos and so on and so forth. But, Laser and Nitro are probably have been my go-to people even 30 years later. Laser and I are still, best of friends. He's like a brother to me, and I could probably bet that he feels the same about me. I mean, we've been through a lot together, he and I, and Nitro and I, I've known Nitro for 30 plus years as well, and I just recently helped Danny and his lady Kim get a house up in northern Los Angeles. And so, yeah, we're still close, tight. Nitro still checks in with me, weekly. So yeah, it's been great.
Okay, and there were so many great events. I want to go through some of these events with you and get some of your memories. The first one, my personal favorite event, I don't know which one's your favorite, we're going to ask you, but my personal favorite was Powerball.
Yeah, Powerball was just a headbanging. It's the one that we all got injured on the most. It really was. I mean, that was just that was rugby and football without pads. I got to say, but if you wanted to take it out on a contestant because they pissed you off on something, Powerball is the place to do it.
The Joust.
Well, the Joust was my personal favorite. I mean, throughout the seasons and in the live tours that we did, I was 150-0 in the Joust. Never lost.
Awesome. And what would you say was the secret to winning the Joust?
First blow. Yeah, so you had to time the whistle and get in their face. So when the two platforms are on that we're stood on, I stood all the way to the front of the platform. So my pugil stick was right in his eyes, pretty much. So he couldn't see. And instead of me swinging back, I would just come up with the pugil stick and hit him right between the legs or on the knees, right when the whistle blew. And so they were already going backwards.
The assault.
Assault was, people love the assault. It reminded me of hunting back in Wisconsin, and again, it was fun. That tennis ball came out of there, 90 to 100 miles an hour. And it's funny, that's probably the #1 game that people reference to when they talk about the American Gladiators is, oh yeah, I remember that show. That's the one where they shot those tennis balls out of the gun. That's the first thing that they always reference.
Wow, that's amazing that's the first one, because I definitely pick it in the top, but I always think of Powerball and Joust first before I think of Assault, even though I love the Assault as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great game though, the Assault. And then I want to know, the wall, was it more difficult for you because of your size going up the wall? Was that as a disadvantage, or did that help you at all?
Oh yeah, the laws of gravity, Mike, were not in my favor. I mean, I prayed that they struggle going up the wall, and that I didn't have to go up very far, because again, at 305 pounds, it put so much pressure on my elbows and my shoulders, just pulling myself up. So that was probably one of my least favorite events.
And what about Hang Tough?
That game, I love that game, because that just, with my wingspan, it allowed me to just move fluently and come across the rings. And matter of fact, that was one of the games they were launching Hang Tough, if I remember correctly, my first year on the show. So I was able to demo that game, when they were in the development stages. So Hang Tough was an awesome game.
Atmosphere.
Atmosphere, that was brutal. I mean, that you walk out of there, you're drenched. I mean, because you have, I believe it was 45 seconds, or maybe it was 60 seconds of just nonstop, just pumping with your legs, and when those balls hit, I mean, they collided, You know, I remember one time Gemini hit so hard on his ball, it crushed the side of the cage in, and I remember he fell in the cage and it cut his glute.
The gauntlet.
The gauntlet was, you know, that was just kind of it was just a headbanging movement. It's just straightforward. You knew what you were getting. They knew where we were. So the objection there was just to hit him with that first blow to try to knock him back. You know, Larry, the ref, wouldn't let us hold him down because we had to get off him. So it was all about that first hit. Whether you had the pads in your hand, you know, you hit a bam, bam real quick just to try to knock their stride off a little bit.
Now, the game that every gladiator has said is their least favorite on this show so far, human cannonball.
Yeah, that was brutal. I mean, that you were just a sitting duck, literally. I mean, I forget what they calculated out that you know, 195-pound guy, when by the time he swings, I think it was like 3 times the body weight at the time of collision. So, you know, again, you just had that was a timing one also, that you had to time it just right to try to deflect it. But yeah, I mean, there's no way around it. You were taking a hit.
The maze.
The maze was again it was luck of the draw for whatever the route that the contestant took, and it was just a matter of you had that first. It's about that first blow to them, because again, the ref did not want us to push them down on the ground to hold them. You just had to hit them real quick and let them go.
The pyramid.
The pyramid was another one that just took it out of you, because you were just you know, if someone got by you, man, you had to make up ground. You know, again, at 305 pounds, I mean, moving up those things versus a 150-pound guy, he doesn't sink as much in the mats. Laser broke my nose in that game. We came down. This was I'll never forget this. I told him, I said, "Don't hit my nose, don't hit my face." And lo and behold, we both wrapped up with our contestants. We tumbled all the way down, and we got to the bottom map. Bam! He hits me right in the nose, broke my nose.
Oh boy! Now this one, I'm sure you did well at, the tug of war.
Yeah, that was, you know, that one there again was it's about technique for the gladiator. You know, we had, you know, more opportunities to practice this stuff versus the contestants. So it was that first tug, you know, at the whistle.
Whiplash.
Whiplash, again, that was it's the first reaction to it. I broke my wrist in that game, you know, where I had to have surgery. That was, you know, because you were tied into this T-bone, and the whole idea is to try to yank it out. So I just remember twisting, and I felt my wrist just go like that.
And swing shot.
Love that game because again, I always wanted to make sure, you know, that it's that first jump, again, at my weight, make sure they had enough bungees on there. So I always made sure with the rigger, I always made sure that I went to the same rigger that knew if I had 4 bungees or 3 bungees, I forget what it was, that it was rigged correctly, because that first time, if there's not enough bungees, you're going all the way down. So I love that game because you could just, as you pull up on that bungee cord, it would just shoot you up like a rocket.
And now, did you have a favorite contender or a favorite opponent on the show that you loved competing against?
I mean, there was a chiropractor down in Orange County, I think Knox, I think his name was, he was a pretty agile athlete. You look at the guy, and he just looks like he was a chiropractor. He looked like but that guy could move. Tommy Knox, I think it was. Wow, that's like 37 years ago. That's crazy.
Because I know you guys had to be separated from the contenders. You weren't allowed to talk to them during the filming. After the filming, were you guys allowed to go up to the contenders and socialize with them or anything?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a cutthroat type, you know, situation backstage. I mean, we were in one section, they were in another section. So yeah, I mean, after the competition, we'd always go over, take pictures with their families and stuff like that. Again, I believe that's why the show was so popular, is because we weren't these, like the wrestling. Those guys are, they're talking to them. The crowd loved us because we were human.
Did you ever go a little easy on an opponent and maybe throw a competition or give them a win, even though you're competitive? Did you ever have an off day that you can remember?
No, listen, I'm a competitive athlete. Winning is where it's at. And, if someone beat me, it's because they got by me because they're a superior athlete at the time.
And American Gladiators was so popular back in the day. They had a home game that I remember. They spun off a kids version, Gladiators 2000, and a whole bunch of things that happened with it. And you did get to do
an album.
Yep, that's right. The soundtrack, I remember that. And then can you tell us about any appearances that you remember? Did you go out and go to malls or anywhere like that, or autograph signings that you did? Any particular memories of that?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about when it comes with it being on #1 show is people want to see you and greet with you and meet with you. And I don't know what, I still to this day, I don't know what someone wants a tower picture for, a tower poster, what they did with it. But yeah, Laser and I kind of teamed up a lot, and I went out a lot with Zap on a bunch of appearances. But we would do car shows, Comic Con. Laser and I went to Tokyo, went to London for appearances. I mean, so we had the opportunity to travel across the country, across the world actually, doing paid appearances.
Yep, and we'd love to see the American Gladiators do more appearances, because there's I don't know if you've heard about this convention that's in Hartford, Connecticut, that they do now, 90s Con. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yes, because I mentioned it to Dan, to Nitro. I told him, I said, you got to get all the Gladiators at 90s Con. The fans would love that.
That would be kind of cool. We should, well, once our documentary hits, that might be something that there'll be, people will want to see it.
Yep. So we're going to talk about your documentary in a little bit. The first thing I want to ask you, though, is, speaking of the appearances still, another fun appearance that you guys made was with the late Ray Combs on Family Feud. And I want to know, what are your memories of Family Feud?
I was kind of the ringleader of Family Feud. I don't know if you saw the episode. I remember Metrics was one of my sponsors at the time. And I remember bringing a box of Metrics out and making a joke that if he drinks one of these a day, that he could be as big as me. And because he was a real little guy. And I remember the whole time he stood on the box of Metrics the whole entire show. It was hilarious. But yeah, I think the guys beat the girls, overall money that are points for the game itself. It was fun. I mean, I still watch Family Feud to this day because it just was a great memory.
Yep, the Family Feud was awesome. And why did you leave American Gladiators? Why were you no longer a gladiator at one point?
The injuries really took a toll on my body. And I had an opportunity, fell, through the seasons of doing the Gladiators, I was doing commercials, I doing some episodic stuff on TV and some movies. And I just had an opportunity I wanted to pursue a different type of acting. And, I felt that it was time for me, that when I could still walk and, and still be able to put my pants on, that it was time for me to move on.
Now, one show that you were on, I have to go back. I haven't had a chance to research and see, but I'm definitely going to go back and try to find you in it. I want to know, what was it like, and what episode were you in from Married with Children, a classic show that a lot of famous people got their start on. A lot of people I've interviewed on this show, I can tell you, have been on Married with Children.
Yeah, I was Peggy Bundy's one of Peggy Bundy's fantasies. Then Ed O'Neill was fantasizing about Pamela Anderson, and then she was fantasizing about a bunch of hunky men. I was one of the hunky men, on the show.
Okay, and you know what? I bet, was that the one that also had Becky Mullen?
I don't recall.
Where I think that could have been the same episode. I think I know what episode that could possibly be. So that's funny. I'm gonna have to go back and I'm gonna have to watch. And then another show that you got on, you were kind of part of history of a television network called the WB,
Yeah.
because you actually got cast in one of their first shows. There was a new network that came out, and they had the Wayans Brothers, Parenthood, Unhappily Ever After, and then this show called Muscle. So tell us about that.
Yeah, that was just a great, again, kind of stumbled into that, and got cast on there as Sam Pippin, one of the regulars. And I was this naive bodybuilder. I kind of was, it was an easy role to play. And we did 13 episodes. It was a Whit Thomas production. Whit Thomas was the original producers from Cheers. Great production company, great group of guys, a great organization, and thought for sure the show was going to get picked up, and we were told it was going to get picked up. And I guess WB gave a commitment for 13 episodes. Whit Thomas wanted 26, and they said, "Oh, we're going to pull it." And WB said, "No, we're sticking with 13." And so they said, "Okay, we're pulling the plug." And little did I know that like 2 weeks after they started production on the Wayans Brothers, they gave them an additional 13 show pickup. So Whit Thomas would have got the 26, but it was fun. I had an opportunity to work with some great people on there. Alan Ruck was on that show. Dan Gautier was on that show. Just you look at people, character actors. There was a lot of great talent on that episode, on that program.
Yep, and then Jerry Levine was on there as well. And
Yeah,
what's
Jerry.
funny, a little bit of trivia, I'm going to throw it out there because I'm a trivia knowledge geek here, is Jerry and Alan actually were on a couple years prior with another Whit Thomas show called Going Places, which was on TGIF on ABC. The kind of we TGIF fans know it as the show that killed Just the 10 of Us, that never came back because it replaced it. But that show eventually got canceled. But on that show was Heather Locklear. And your show Muscle was kind of almost like a parody of Melrose Place in a way too. It's sort of like a sitcom-y version, which is kind of funny. And I'm sorry, how do you say his name?
Gautier.
Gautier. Yes. He was also in an episode of Melrose Place. So it all kind of comes back together to Melrose Place in a way, which I think is kind of interesting here.
Yeah.
And now, too, you did have an opportunity that didn't happen, but I want to hear your side of the story. Laser shared with us about you guys had the chance to become WWE champions, but it did not happen.
Well, it was a worldwide.
Oh, WWF at the time. WWF,
Correct.
yes.
Yeah. So I met with Vince McMahon and his team in New York, and listen, did I fit the character? Absolutely, but I just didn't. I mean, I got out of the show because of injuries, and I just didn't want to be on the road for many weeks out of the year as they wanted us, and plus I had to be a loser for X amount of months. Or I think it was a year, and I just felt now I'm gonna pass. So I remember that was when The Rock was still Dwayne Johnson.
Yep, and just like Laser had said on this show too, which is true. You guys you're competitive by nature. That you don't want to act. You want to really win. Your battles, which I can understand, but. There could have been a Laser Tower Championship. Could have happened, guys. And then now there is talk also about, even though there was that 2008 version where they made characters out of the Gladiators, it wasn't the same. But there's talk of WWE bringing it back now, and I want to know what are your thoughts of that.
I heard some talks of that. I heard Joe Rogan was part of the organization with that. I think it's Joe Rogan. Listen, I think it'd be great. I think, quite frankly, at 59 right now, I think I would love to compete in it still. just, at a different, at a different level, possibly, some of the events that are less physical, but I think I can still do the joust. I think I can still get up there and do the assault, no problem. And so, count me in if it's coming back.
Yep. And then also there's now a Netflix documentary. So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, it's been this past 2 years has been pretty interesting with Netflix. We got this docu-series. I think it's between 6 and 8 episodes, and it's the American Gladiators then and American Gladiators now. And actually, and they got great directors. They got award-winning directors. A guy from Nacho Libre, I think it is. Or no, what's the other slapstick stuff that he did? Shoot, just I've been hit too many times in the head. I forget what he's done. Anyway, very well-known directors, and they really took an in-depth look at all of us gladiators, and they're putting into an amazing story, telling a story about then and now, and what I'm doing now, and is really cool because I'm right now, as we're doing this interview, Mike, I'm 14 days out from the Masters Nationals in bodybuilding right now. I'm competing in Pittsburgh in July here.
And what do you think made American Gladiators such a success, and that the fans, are you surprised that after all these years, everyone just loves it? I mean, I'm not surprised, but are you surprised? Did you think going into this, it was going to turn into what it turned into?
No, I mean, it's almost like a cult following. I use American Gladiators when I go to the list of home. My listing book is my 30 years of life. As a gladiator, as Mr. America, as an actor, and people look at my listing book, and they look at it. Here, my friend, I'll show you one here real quick. So this is my listing book right here, and it's wrapped with my gladiator stuff. And when I give it to them, they look at it, they look at me, they look at it again, and then they go, I knew I recognized you from somewhere. And what it is, Mike, is it's conversation, it's talking piece. Now, not only am I a realtor, but I'm a realtor that's been on TV, and it's bragging rights for them. So I just, my wife really didn't watch the show very much. And she's blown away if we're at the airport and someone comes by and wants to take a picture with me. She goes, how do they remember that? And it's just, so to answer your question, it's just a crazy, crazy thing.
What do you think is the most important thing you learned from the show?
What did I learn? The most important thing that I learned is to suit up and show up and do what you say you're going to do. If you commit to something, do it. If it means, going to go sign autographs for people, if you committed doing it, go do it, just because you may be tired or something. So I think just suit up and show up.
Okay, and then you did mention the real estate. Just let everybody know what you've been up to since American Gladiators.
Well, I'm in the real estate business. I'm a realtor here in Southern California, and the name of my company is Big H Homes. And it's been a great run right now. As a realtor, I love doing what I'm doing, and I branded myself as the real fit realtor, and then I'll find you the perfect fit home. So, my wife and I do these fit tip videos. We release them once a week, and I have different guests on. Laser's been on. I'm going to be shooting some with Nitro here pretty soon. I'm going to get Zap and Ice on, a couple coming up. And I've had some NFL players on. I've had, some college quarterbacks on. And it just, what it does is I take one exercise and we do it in 90 seconds and we show it, it's called a fit tip on it. And it's people remember it. People remember it. And it's not that I'm trying to sell real estate in the fit tip, but I'm embedding in their mind that, oh, this guy sells real estate.
Okay, and now it's time to play the lightning round, where I'm going to name you two things, and you just tell me which one you prefer. Would you rather play air guitar or air drums?
Air drums.
The ocean or the mountains?
The mountains.
City life or country life?
Hands down, country boy life.
Kermit the Frog or Michigan J. Frog?
Michigan.
Good answer. Big Bang Theory or Two and a Half Men?
2.5 Men, hands down.
Would you rather play a pinball machine or play a card game?
Pinball machine.
Dunkaroos or Shark Bites?
Dunkaroos.
A VHS tape or a CD?
CD.
Tetris or Super Mario Brothers?
Tetris.
Leg day or arm day?
Both. No, loaded guns.
Would you rather have a protein bar or a protein shake?
A protein shake.
And dumbbells or kettlebells?
Dumbbells.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us here today. What would you like to say to all the fans who are watching today?
Well, Mike, first I want to say thank you for your time and your knowledge. I'm very impressed with your knowledge of the show and the characters or the players in it. And what I'd like to say out there is all you fans that are listening to Mike's show here is I hope you tune into the Netflix documentary. Watch for it. It should be coming out this coming spring. And then just let us know what you think of it.
Yep, and everybody be sure to follow me on social media, and I'll keep you guys updated too. I love Instagram stories. If you check out my stories, I'm always putting things. So I will keep you updated too. When I hear any news on the American Gladiators and the Netflix documentary, I'm gonna be plugging away on there. So check that out. If somebody wanted to get in contact with you, how can they reach you?
They can find me at Big H Homes on Instagram. That's the @ BIGHHOMES.
Okay, and thank you again for joining us. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk to you all soon. Bye, everybody.